welcome back to the deep dive. If you've been feeling like the world has, I don't know, gone a little crazy lately, like up is down, competence is punished, and reality itself is suddenly up for debate, then you are in the right place.
You definitely are.
We are cutting through all that noise today. But look, before we jump in, just do me a quick favor. Hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed.
It really helps.
It does. We're covering topics the algorithm doesn't always love, so, staying connected is key.
It's good to be here. And crazy might be. Well, it might be an understatement for what we're digging into today.
No kidding. We are taking a very, very serious look at a new ebook that is making some serious waves. It's by an author named Conrad Riker, and the title alone is, well, it's a lot.
It's quite a title.
It's called Gnostic Marxism, Feminized Woke Leftists Inherit Gnosticism in Satan's Name.
Yeah, it's a title that screams from the rooftops.
It really does. And I'll be honest, when I first saw it, my first thought was, okay, this is just a keyword salad. But then we actually read it. And Riker isn't just throwing buzzwords around. I mean, he is building this massive historical argument about why modern men feel like they are totally under siege.
That's the thing. And to be clear, Riker frames this book as more of an exorcism. He's not just, critiquing tax policy or hiring quotas. He is arguing that Western civilization is possessed by a spiritual parasite.
A parasite that specifically targets men, fathers, and anyone who values competence.
Yep.
So, if you're a guy out there trying to figure out why HR seems to hate you, or why schools seem designed to crush your son's spirit, this is the deep dive for you. And look, we can only scratch the surface here. If you want the full arsenal of arguments, you really need to buy the book. It's available right now on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books.
I would highly recommend reading the source material on this one. It is. It's dense.
So, let's get into the meat of it. The why. Riker's whole thesis is that we're looking at this all wrong.
Completely wrong.
We think we're fighting Marxism or wokeism. But Riker says those are just masks. He says the real enemy is something much, much older. He calls it a fusion of Gnosticism and Marxism.
And this is where we have to put on our history hats for just a second. Because usually when you hear people talk about Marxism, they're talking about economics.
Right. Seizing the means of production, class warfare, that whole thing.
But Riker says that's a trap or a distraction. He argues that Marx didn't really invent his ideas. He stole a theological myth. To understand what's happening in your office, you have to understand ancient Gnosticism.
Okay, let's unpack that. Because when I hear Gnosticism, I think of, ancient scrolls, secret societies. What's the core belief there?
The core belief of Gnosticism is that the material world, so physical reality, nature, your own biology, even gravity, is a prison.
A prison.
A prison. They believe this world was created not by the true God, but by an evil, lesser God, a being they called the demiurge.
So the physical world is evil. Nature is evil.
Exactly. For a Gnostic, the goal is to escape this prison of reality through secret knowledge or gnosis. They want to transcend the physical to reach some kind of pure spirit.
Okay, so how does Riker connect an ancient cult that hates reality to, a diversity seminar in 2026?
This is the aha moment of the book. Riker argues that the modern left is just. Gnosticism 2.0, they've adopted the whole demiurge framework.
The same framework.
The same one. But for them, the evil prison isn't just matter. It's biological reality itself. It's hierarchy. It's merit. It's the difference between men and women.
So when they see a biological difference, or they see that men tend to gravitate toward engineering and women toward nursing, they don't see nature.
They see the prison walls. They see the demiurge at work. And if you believe reality is an evil prison, well, your moral duty isn't to reform the world.
It's to destroy it.
It's destroy it, to dismantle the prison of biology.
That actually explains the intensity. It explains why they're so angry. Because if you think reality is oppression, then anyone who enforces reality, like a father or a boss or even scientist, is a jailer.
Precisely. And Riker says this is why you get the inversion of virtue. In this worldview, strength is suddenly framed as a flaw. Competence is suspicious. Leadership gets labeled oppression. The goal is the erasure of nature. Specifically the nature of what he calls the sovereign male, because he represents the order and reality they want to tear down.
He has this incredible story in the book that just perfectly illustrates this. He talks about a Google engineer he calls Laura.
Oh, the objectivity story. Yeah.
Yeah. So Laura's in one of those mandatory diversity trainings, which I'm sure a lot of our listeners have had to sit through. And the facilitator tells a room that objectivity is a myth invented by white men.
Which is a standard critical theory talking point. They argue that logic itself is just a tool of power.
Right. So Laura, who is an engineer, I mean, her job is literally physics and code, she raises her hand and she asks, if objectivity is a myth, isn't that claim also a myth?
It's the logical checkmate. If there's no truth, then their truth is also a lie.
Exactly, and you'd think that would start a debate, right? But the room goes silent, and what happens? She gets reassigned.
Yep.
Riker uses this to show that we aren't dealing with politics anymore. We are dealing with religious enforcement. If you question the dogma, you're a heretic.
And this religious war against reality is most aggressive when it comes to biology. Riker dedicates a pretty brutal section of the book to how testosterone is being treated as essentially a toxin.
This part made my blood boil a little bit.
Yeah.
He calls it the war on boys and says it starts in preschool.
He cites examples from Sweden, which Riker argues is kind of the laboratory for these bad ideas before they get exported to the U.S. He mentions preschools using blue wristbands to flag boys who display testosterone-driven disruption.
Just think about that. Little boys running around, wrestling, being loud, which is how they learn boundaries in physics, and they get tagged like they're hazardous materials.
It's the medicalization of masculinity. Riker argues the state is pathologizing normal male behavior. If a boy is competitive, he's toxic. If he's energetic, he suddenly has ADHD. The goal is to medicate or shame him until he acts more like a girl-compliant, verbal, and, still.
And he points out this extends way beyond the playground. It's written into the legal code. He talks about the erasure of fatherhood.
This is critical. We're seeing this shift in language from mother and father to parent one and parent two. Riker calls it linguistic castration.
It sounds like just words, but the legal implications are huge.
Huge. Riker points out that in these new frameworks, the biological father is rendered legally invisible, interchangeable. He says in some cases in California and Sweden, the state or even a sperm donor has more legal rights than a father who wants to raise his own child with traditional values. If the father contradicts the mother's ideological upbringing, say on gender theory, the state just steps in as the true father.
It's the state replacing the patriarch. And this connects to something Riker calls the myth gap. I love this comparison. He looks at Star Wars.
The Luke Skywalker versus Rey comparison.
Exactly. So, you look at Luke, he gets his hand cut off, he gets beat up by sand people, he fails a lot, he has to train in a swamp. That is the hero's journey. It's how boys learn that value has to be earned through suffering and discipline.
And then you get Rey.
She just has the power. She downloads it. She beats the main villain the first time she ever picks up a lightsaber. Riker argues this just completely destroys the narrative necessary for male development.
It tells boys that power is either something you're born with, which is privilege and therefore bad, or it's something you're just given. It removes the entire concept of earning your status.
Yeah.
And if you tell boys they can't earn their status, well, they check out.
And the data says they are checking out. The book is full of these really harrowing stats on what he calls the male shadow ban.
Right. We see this massive amplification of female achievement in media and corporate culture, but total silence on male sacrifice. Riker points out that something like 93% of workplace fatalities are men.
93%.
Men are the ones dying to keep the lights on, keep the roads paved, the sewers running.
But they're invisible.
Worse than invisible. Riker says the system hates them because their work proves that the material world is hard. Their work proves you can't just wish for electricity and clean water. You have to sweat and bleed for it. And that reality, it checks the Gnostic fantasy.
So how does this ideology actually capture the institutions? Because it's not just culture, it's your job. Riker calls this section the beta uprising.
This chapter is it's essential reading for anyone working in a corporation today. He describes HR departments as the soft gulag.
Soft gulag. That is a phrase.
It fits, though. Riker argues HR is the new Inquisition. You don't need secret police if you have an HR department that can enforce ideological purity.
He tells the story of the Boeing engineer. This guy had 27 years of experience, designed flight controls, knew the physics inside and out, but he gets suspended for emotional suppression.
What does that even mean in engineering?
Apparently he was too stoic, he focused on the data and didn't smile enough or, validate feelings during meetings. Riker's point is that technical mastery no longer protects you. In fact, your competence makes you a target.
Yeah.
They weaponize emotional intelligence to purge competent males who don't play the social game.
It's the feminization of the workplace. The very traits that make a great engineer, logic, directness, objectivity, are now labeled aggressive. Riker calls this the end of competence.
We see the results. I mean, planes falling apart, bridges cracking. Riker connects this to the broader death of the West. He goes hard on the energy sector.
This is where the Gnostic fantasy really smacks into the laws of physics. Riker looks at places like Germany and California. They're shutting down nuclear plants and fossil fuels, reliable, dense energy in favor of wind and solar.
Because wind and solar feel clean, they feel spiritual.
Exactly. It's a rejection of the dirty, physical reality of extraction. But Riker points out the hypocrisy. They're relying on child labor in the Congo, digging for cobalt to build the batteries for this clean fantasy. It's a luxury belief system that ignores physical reality.
And when you ignore reality, reality eventually punches you in the face. Riker cites the David Gellinter memo at Google.
That was a pivotal moment. Gellinter just looked at the data. He found that diversity hires were failing technical reviews at a much higher rate than merit hires. He didn't say, don't hire them. He just showed the data.
And instead of debating the numbers,
They destroyed them, pushed them out. Riker argues this is the replacement of logos, reason, order, competence with pathos, which is all about feeling and victimhood.
And if you want to know where this all leads, Riker points to the Cuban doctor anecdote.
The doctor selling coffee, yeah.
Yeah, a trained surgeon in Havana who earns more selling coffee to tourists than he does practicing brain surgery.
And that is the parallel economy of a collapsed system. When collectivism crushes individual agency, when you punish competence and reward loyalty to the party, the competent men,
Yeah.
they stop working. They withdraw. They just do the bare minimum.
Which brings us to the most important part of this whole thing. Because Riker doesn't just leave us in the burning building, he gives us a blueprint. He calls it the restoration and the sovereign man.
And the first step is what he calls red pill epistemology.
Which sounds fancy, but it's actually really practical.
It's just a return to the trivium. Grammar, logic, rhetoric. Riker says men have to learn to name things correctly again. Stop using their newspeak. If it's a father, call him a father. If it's a man, call him a man. You cannot concede the language.
If you use their map, you get lost.
Exactly. And logic is your only defense against gaslighting.
And then there's the sovereign mindset. I love the story of the welder in Austin.
This guy is the archetype. He welds his own off-grid cabin. He didn't ask for a permit. He didn't ask for permission. He just built it.
Riker uses this as a metaphor. He says, stop begging the system for validation. The system hates you, so build your own.
He calls for building parallel institutions.
Yeah.
And he says you can't do it alone. The book analyzes the decline of things like Freemasonry, which used to be this massive network for men, and the rise of new groups. He mentions one called the Spartan Brotherhood.
And these aren't therapy groups.
No. Riker's very clear on this. Men don't need therapy, they need a mission. These new brotherhoods, they demand discipline, they demand sacrifice, they hold you accountable.
Riker actually breaks this down into a red pill toolkit. 3 things he says every man needs to do immediately.
Right, number 1, lift weights, own your body. If you're physically weak, Riker argues you're harder to respect and you're easier to control. Physical strength is the first layer of sovereignty.
Okay.
Number 2, master a skill. Own your value. Be the guy who can fix the grid or code the app or build the house. Competence is the one thing they can't fake.
And number 3,
Build independent platforms. Own your voice, because if you rely on their platforms, they can ban you. If you rely on their jobs, they can starve you. Sovereignty is the only safety.
this book, it's heavy, but it feels necessary. The title, again, is Gnostic Marxism, Feminized Woke Leftists Inherit Gnosticism in Satan's Name. It's a call to arms for the mind.
It is. Riker describes truth as dangerous because it threatens a system built on lies. And this book is definitely dangerous. It explains the war on men in a way that connects all the dots, from ancient theology right to your HR department.
If you're hearing this and thinking, finally someone gets it, you need to follow this guy. Go to his Substack. It's conradriker.substack.com. Follow him on Twitter and YouTube. He's at Conrad Riker. He is on the front lines of this stuff.
And I want to leave the listener with one final thought from the book that really stuck with me. Riker writes, "The system doesn't want you to lead, it wants you to obey. But a man who knows his purpose is dangerous to a system built on lies."
That is powerful. Listen, do not just listen to this deep dive and then move on. Go to Amazon, Kindle, or Google Playbooks right now. Buy the book. Leave a 5-star review. Help the algorithm push this truth out to more men who need to hear it.
The institutions might be captured, but your mind doesn't have to be.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. If you got value from this, smash that like button, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend who needs the red pill. Stay sovereign, gentlemen. We'll see you next time.